Welcome to Advice from the Deal Room. I'm Ben Record.
Matt Russell.
Jay Cook.
Lydia Hector.
And what we want to talk to you guys about today is the AAI Iceberg. It's something we've kind of discovered as we've been doing some internal discussions and internal work on our own messaging to help kind of capture that we do a lot more than just get our clients loans. Matt, do you want to expand on that a little bit?
Yeah. So on the surface, everybody comes to us, oh, can you get us a loan? But however, in that process is a little bit more in depth. There's a lot more work that we do than just acquiring you a loan. We'll go into a little bit more on that. It's the advice, but it's also, the white glove service that we provide. It goes above and beyond that for the value that we're trying to bring to our clients.
One thing that I want to start us off with is think of us kind of like a bank that doesn't have the funds. We still are going to work with our clients like a bank will. We're going to underwrite you. We're going to get to know you. We're going to have a deep relationship with advice and kind of coaching you through. And then we're going to place you with the right funds to use for your project. And in that process, we're going to go through an advice layer as we kind of get to understand you. We're going to underwrite you. Jay can talk more about what we do there and the things that we do that it's more than just a loan. I can think of a few right off the top of my head. And Lydia goes above and beyond all the time. I don't know how many times she's helped get insurance people in line and do above and beyond what would normally be expected of a loan broker, helping a loan get closed.
And then I will even push on that a little bit. You're saying we're like a bank. We do more than a bank can do and what they're able to do and what they're willing to do too. So we go above and beyond what a bank's willing to do too, because, we've all worked in these financial institutions before, and Lydia's sitting there shaking her head right now that's one thing that she likes about working here is that we're able to do things that she was not able to do in her prior roles at financial institutions, to go above and beyond and actually help the client. The ultimate goal is here to assist and help the client achieve their goals. And sometimes banks are limited to how they can do that and what they can do for their clients.
Matt, do you want to take it away on one of your first stories of something that you did that was kind of above and beyond? I mean, I know on a lot of even on just the creative deal we talked about on our last podcast, there was plenty of things, but you want to kick us off?
Having clients send us information on a project and analyzing it before they even make an offer sometimes. It's making sure that it is right for them before they actually, maybe even under agreement, before we even present it to a lender. We do all that underwriting too with Jay. Jay assists in a lot of that stuff to make sure that this makes sense for the borrower. Is this actually going to cash flow? We've put together even packages for them to understand what different interest rate environments looks like if they start a construction project now and we end it in a year where the interest rates may be on permanent financing. We provided more in-depth analysis of what you're going to get just from going to a bank, so they can actually make an advised decision and understand the risks and the rewards associated with those deals. So it's that advice up front that I think that we try to go above and beyond. I know the team does a lot more than that. We get into the annual due diligence requests for clients that lenders always have every year, always following up on those. When they ask for projections and business plans, the assist that, Jay, myself, we work on those together and get those accomplished for the clients, just working through all the little nuances that come up that some clients do not have the time, the patience to be able to do that, and have our skill sets to be able to do that in a timely manner as well too, and a presentable manner back to how the lenders are looking for it. So those are a few things just off the top of my head. Clients just come to us and ask us for advice. The other day, Jay and I are working on a deal. He just wrapped it up yesterday, unfortunately, but one of the advices back to the client was, if you're going to have to replace $300,000 worth of air conditioners on this property in the next year, probably, based on how much an additional cash injection you're going to need, it doesn't make sense to do it, because the financing we could get lined up at today where the property is performing today. There's some nuances we had to work through on that and get some in-depth analysis back from the real estate brokers on that, where most lenders are not going to, a lender's not going to do that. They're going to take what you give as face value and go, cool, this doesn't look like a cash flow, but we dug in a little deeper, got with the brokers on that. They got with the sellers. They gave us more information. So then it did cash flow. But however, once we looked at it and got feedback from the contractor and said, this is going to be $300,000 worth of stuff. Let's back away from the deal. That was my advice back to him yesterday. Is like, hey, we're going to have to back. I don't think it's worth moving forward, guys. So it's just those little extra. We didn't get the deal, but we didn't get our client into a situation where it was not going to be in their best interest.
Jay, do you want to talk a little bit about, I was just thinking of we just finished the CLR yesterday, but for the client that started with quite a couple months back with just a portfolio analysis, she wanted us to, she knew she needed to refi something because she has a loan coming due, but she wanted a portfolio analysis and kind of what your process is there. And that's way more than just asking for a loan. And it goes through a lot.
I guess to kind of back up what Matt said to start with, and then I'll kind of go into the portfolio analysis. Most of my job, I'm doing things that the client never sees. And so as Matt said, we do a deep dive on all of these loans. And my job is to underwrite it like a financial institution would. And by doing that, we're making sure we have all of the information from the clients and answer most of the questions that a lender would have up front before it ever gets to a lender, right? So if we've underwritten it like the lender would, we'll have all the answers so that by the time we send it out to 3, 5, 10, 20 lenders, we've got most of the answers and don't need to have to keep coming back to the client with every lender's little requests. So that's a lot of my job, is trying to put together that underwriting. Through that, we've had some pretty interesting experiences, and I've had to be on the phone with lenders' underwriters. I had one client where he had 15 to 20 properties that were all multifamily, 8 units, 12 units, 20 units. He'd bought them at different times, and he would buy them. He would renovate them, so there'd be a period of time where they weren't producing income. He'd stabilize them, and because of the work he'd done and the stabilization, the value would be higher, so he'd refinance out with cash out to do the next deal. So when you look at his 3-year history, it looks terrible because the lenders will usually say, well, his current debt on these properties says he's making these payments. Yeah, but they're missing the fact that 2 years ago in July, he refinanced, and prior to that, the payment was a lot lower because the balance was a lot lower from when he bought it. And I remember that particular client, I spent about 2.5 to 3 hours on the phone with their underwriter, going through every single property, and I'd sent them every single promissory note so they could see, here's the old debt, here's the new debt, to show that over the 3-year history, he had plenty of cash sufficient to cover the debt that was needed to be serviced at the time. And I also had to point out some other things to them, like, there's amortization being paid on these, which is an expense where there's no cash. And if you add that back, they've got a lot more cash flow showing than what you've got in your underwriting. So I had to show her where the amortization was on the tax returns. But anyway, those are some of the things that I do to help our clients that the clients never see.
Jay, one other thing that you do is, we're putting together those CLRs, is what we call it internally. It's their big loan request with all the information. And we send those to lenders and they run them by their credit. And there's been times where we needed updated, there's new information that came to light, and they go, can you update your loan request document, because they're using our loan request as part of their pre-flight with credit. So those are the little things behind the scenes, like, hey, we got new information. So I've had Jay lately, it's been a few deals. Can you update this loan request based on the new information, update a budget on a construction project? Can you update our request? Like, that shows you the value that they put on the information that we provide to them, because they're using that through their credit to get sign off from credit. One other thing that you've done recently too is we're working on a phase 6 of a construction project, and lenders that are looking at that want to know the financials per phase on the prior project on phases 1 through 5. The property management does not do that. They have, here you go, here's your T12, your historical financials, all grouped by phases 1 through 5. We have, through Jay and myself, and Jay did all the hard work. I kind of told him what we needed. And Jay put together a P&L by phase, by year over the last 23, 24, and 25 to show back to the lenders the start dates of the P&I payments, all those things, all the details. Again, what Jay was just mentioning about his other clients, so they can understand the true cash flow of each phase and when everything started. So it's just those little nuances that nobody sees behind the scenes, right? They see, oh, we're getting them a loan, but we're actually doing all these extra things behind the loan. So sorry, Jay, there was just two fresh things in my mind that you've done recently I want to address and talk about.
Yeah. So Ben, as you asked in the first place that started all this, yeah. So we do portfolio analyses. So we had your client, I think, had 10 properties, single family rentals, had a couple of them that they wanted to refinance and had some reasons to do so. We went through their whole portfolio, looked at, what was actually making money for them and covering their debt service, what wasn't, what might be advisable to sell in this environment, and what's the best way to refinance the two that they were looking at. We put together what I think is a pretty good package for them to kind of give them a view of their whole portfolio as a single business, but with each property saying, what's this really doing for me within the portfolio, and is it performing as I would hope or as I would expect?
And that's super valuable for our clients. I know for them, it was good for them to see and to start thinking about, not that they're making any major changes right now, but where they can start either pushing up rent to increase further cash out plans, or where do they maybe tap that equity by selling the property and go and redeploying somewhere else and looking at that cash on cash return.
Yeah, it's amazing when we do these how many times we find that rent seems to be quite a ways below market. And that's a recommendation we tend to make frequently when we do these portfolio analyses, that your property isn't necessarily performing as well as it could, and market rates could be up here and you'd be performing a whole lot better and if you were to raise rents to where market is.
I remember one of my clients, Jay, that you did that, and we actually relied on our sister company that we have an ownership stake in, and reached out to them and asked all the market rents per property, and went through every single property. I think he's got 40 some doors, and said, what is the actual rent? And we used that in our new analysis to kind of show, hey, here's the rents you should be charging. Here's your true financial position if you got to get there. And with the Washington state laws now, obviously, you have to work some strategies if you're that far below market rent where you can't, a little over 9% jump won't get you to market rents. But we use our other resources that we are part of, that we have, either ownership or just our partners out there, to be able to provide that expertise back to our clients to say, hey, here's where you're at. You're missing the boat here. And here's where it would be. Here's how much cash out we could get once you get there. Here's here's the value of those assets. So we try to look at all our resources to be able to help those clients out.
Lydia, tell us about what you do for our clients that they probably never hear about, or they don't fully understand what you're doing for.
I kind of keep the customer or our client and the lender. We don't like to bombard our clients with all of the list. It's very overwhelming for some clients when they see this checklist of items that they need. We already have most of it. It's just us giving that to them. So just kind of reassuring our clients, we've got it, don't worry. Making sure that we're in contact with all pieces, whether it's title, insurance, making sure the appraisals are moving like they should to get completed, making sure the lender is keeping us apprised of anything that they see, and having organized files. I think that really does help as well. I think that helps the lender. They know by looking at that document exactly what it is when they receive our package. I think organization, that does really, really help. And quick responses.
I think you're underselling what you do, Lydia. I'll
That's what I was going to say too, Matt.
I'm gonna help you out here, Lydia.
Okay.
Just one instance. I think it was a month ago. We had a draw for one of our clients got dispersed on a construction draw. It was after wire cutoff time. So Lydia went and met the banker, got the corporate check, cashier's check, and then went to our client's bank and actually deposited into their bank so they could start writing checks off it right away. So, those things. She's texting clients constantly to make things easier and tell them, complete their paperwork, make sure things are in order, follow up on little things. It's those, if you heard on Ramon's podcast a few podcasts ago, like ever since Lydia's been here, he's like this. It was easy before, but this is so much easier. It's the little things that he doesn't have to do. It's going into the Secretary of State and helping them with something through the Secretary of State. It's calling the Department of Revenue. It's calling the licensing divisions that you've called every time. I think you set up, Ben, didn't she set up something for Guy once?
Yeah, she's helped set up an LLC for him that, or just in what we had to renew it in the state or something like that. And just the things that go into it that the client, yeah, they could do it, but they don't even think about it because we'll just help take care of it for them because we know their stuff. We have that and we get their approval, of course, but we can kind of help take a lot of that off their plate for them. Just thinking about all the other things you've done for my doctor client, think of all the fun we had working through his primary mortgage loan for him. And that's not something we generally do or help on because it's not in our world. But because we were able to help explain his information to the lenders, we were able to help get them to get it financed. So without us kind of handling that all for him, he would have been in quite a little pickle.
And fortunately, you had already kept a lot of that information, especially because he has a large portfolio. And so making sure, the questions of where are these financed, which ones have association fees, those kind of things.
Oh, yeah. HOA fees. That was one of the weirdest things we had to do on that. We had to go through and find association fees and all that for all of his different properties. So
that was really good. But those are things that as a commercial processor, because I have been, that's my background, things like that, I wouldn't have been able to do. I wouldn't have been able to be on a phone call with the IRS, assisting a client trying to get their tax transcripts, those kind of things you can't do on the banking world, that we can do that I really, really, I really like.
That's a good example right there. You spent hours working with a client to get their tax situation with the IRS. They didn't have any back taxes, but trying to get their tax transcripts, we found out that your CPA did not file their taxes through all this. One year they said they did, but didn't do it. We had the tax return, looked like it was filed, but when you pull the tax transcripts, so Lydia worked with the borrower and the IRS because she couldn't be the one speaking to the IRS, but she could definitely help the client out and navigate that process for them to make it easier. I'm looking at Jay's face going, I think Jay's a little surprised right now of everything that Lydia's done, actually.
I couldn't answer any questions, but I could text them and give them the information. What form do we file our taxes? Things like that they couldn't, they do it, they see it, but they couldn't answer those. They didn't know the answer to the question, but I had it in front of me that I could provide it to them. That was probably one of my most satisfying in a very long time of being able to assist, because this loan was not going to get closed until we got this, and we were at a standstill. And the CPA wasn't helping at all. They were very hands off, which is really frustrating because I feel they pay them to do that business for them. But that's okay. In the long run, we got it done. We got the loan closed, and I really feel that this client is appreciative of what we do. That same client, by the way, that of things that we do that aren't even, part of a deal is he owns a construction company. He needed a construction packet put together. Well, I had everything except for a recent signed W-9. Very simple. I have it. We put it together. And then unfortunately, the electronic signature didn't go to the right email. So, on a Saturday, Matt's like, hey, can you jump in there and resend it? Absolutely. So those are things too. because we have access to this on the weekends, at evenings, just to get things done.
Yeah, I always joke when we're sometimes forced to work banker hours. When bankers don't work, we can't really get some of the things done, but we don't work banker hours. We work all the time for our clients a lot of the time. So, I've had calls at 4 a.m. from clients on a Saturday, and I've had calls at 9 p.m. on a Sunday. So we do what we have to for our clients. Any other stories, things we want to share that kind of help capture the iceberg of AI?
Well, I think also coming from commercial lending, right now is the worst time to be in a bank because they are wanting their annual reviews. They got to get their annual reviews. And, a lot of banks say it's January 1. Well, we don't have taxes, right? Tax returns. So that is something that we provide to our clients. They don't, they're busy. They're running their businesses. They don't have time to update a personal financial statement. Those are the things that we can do. We can reach out to their CPA. Hey, I need extensions if you haven't filed, or if you've already filed, we need copies. I think that would have been amazing when being on the commercial lending, being able to say, hey, broker, you brokered this. Now follow up with financials. That would have been, or insurance. People don't understand it. A lot of lenders come to us and say, hey, we don't show, the insurance is expired. Can't get a hold of the insurance company. Well, because they changed insurance companies. Those kind of things, we still have contact with our client, and we can provide that. Let us do that for you. Let us do the legwork.
Well, I think that is a good point to stop it. You left us on a nice warm fuzzy there, Lydia. So to wrap us up, Matt, anything you want to close with?
I just want to say that, there's more than meets the eye here with AI. We're getting you along, but we're providing a lot of value add service to make our clients' job easier, because as Lydia has mentioned, navigating the banking world in 2026 is a lot more challenging than it used to be. And then, we do a lot of SBA lending. Navigating that process is very frustrating and challenging for clients. And I was speaking with a banker the other day about this, and they said some of the clients get in the middle of it and just throw their hands up and say, I'm good. Don't need to move forward with this transaction because it's too much work on their end. There is more than meets the iceberg here is, hey, we're just getting you along. But there is all this is underneath of it. It's almost like the duck scenario too, calm up top and those ducks are paddling away underneath, right? And those are the other things that we provide that, we sometimes don't even tell clients. And it just gets taken care of, but they realize it gets taken care of. And so when you're looking for a broker out there and you want to get lending, or even if you're not looking for a broker, you just go straight to lender, there's other ways out there to get better service and make your life easier. Because our goal is just to provide that service and advice back to our clients and make their jobs and their lives easier so they can go on and do what they prefer to do, which is probably not talking to banks and completing paperwork and follow up on loose ends and speaking with credit underwriters like Jay's talked about and doing all these little nuances. They don't have the time. Some of them don't have the expertise to how to navigate that either, especially when you're talking about the credit side of things. Well, it just makes sense. What are you talking about? Like this deal cash flows. I don't know why you're asking these dumb questions. I get a lot of clients like, what they don't get. I go, you got to explain it this way. We either walk it through this way to explain it to that credit person, because those credit people are the ones who make the final decisions. So we need to be making them happy and then keeping those lenders happy throughout the process and even after the process, because the moment you irritate them, the moment you're not going to get any more financing from them. And that's their ultimate goal, is to continue to help you grow.
And I think that's a big reason of why we started this podcast, is we want to be able to help share some of this knowledge and share some of the stories and help give that advice out free. I mean, we would love to have you come work with us. Yes, we would love to get to meet a lot of you and help you all make lots of money, but we're here to give some advice out and to help you guys be better prepared to succeed in your own right, even if that's not with us. Thank you guys. I think this was a good little podcast, and we're going to try to keep it under our 30-minute goal. So anything else?
Well, thank you, Lydia. Thank you, Jay, for joining us today. So And thanks for, just doing everything you guys do for the clients. It definitely, sometimes they don't know it, but sometimes they really know it when they realize the extra work that we do. And it's very rewarding that, we want to be credible in what we do, and having you guys on the team really makes a difference for us, for Ben, myself, and the others, and Miriam out there. Without you guys, we would not be able to do what we do.
Thank you. And hey, give us a like, follow, subscribe, DM us, as Matt always says, and
DM us, guys.
keep checking out for the next podcast. Sounds
All
good,
right.
guys.
Thank you, guys.